Okay. Hello, LinkedIn, and hello, Marcy Moneypenny.
Yay.
I don't always say the guests' last names, but yours is just too fabulous not to mention.
Agree.
Thank you so much for coming on. This conversation, I think, is highly anticipated based on the LinkedIn traffic I've been seeing. And I'm really excited for it because you have some incredibly useful things to say, some pearls of wisdom that I know are going to benefit a lot of people. So thank you for coming on.
Sure. I'm looking forward to sharing one of the things you and I have both talked about, making the ask regardless of whether it's for funding for career development or it's an ask that you just haven't done before. This is a stepping stone for women. This for them to be able to understand how to have the confidence, how to be prepared, regardless of what the ask is.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that because this really is a conversation for everyone. But I've found that women are the ones who have been asking me the most about it.
Sure.
Now, let me give a little context. The other week, last week, I think, it's 2025. Who keeps track of time? I was at a conference in Las Vegas, a retail real estate conference, and I kept having this conversation over and over again with women, especially rising star women, mid to senior level, who were expressing to me, I really want to take this leadership course or this speaking
Mhm.
course, or I want to go to this conference, but my boss is not going to approve the budget, or there's no budget for that, or I already know they're going to say no, or I asked for it last year, they said no, why would it be different now? Conversation. And some people who just didn't even want to make the ask. And I said, no, it's not that you can't make the ask, it's that you just don't know how to do it in a way
Sure.
that you're comfortable with, that will get you a yes. And so it's really a question of tools, techniques, strategies. And when I thought we need to do a live, I thought of you because you, Marcy, have incredible experience in this space. And I'm going to hand the mic over to you to tell people what you do and who you are. But I just have to say, I met Marcy when we both were working at CBRE many years ago. I think we were in Scottsdale, as I was telling you before this. But you have been in really senior positions across the industry where you are not only deciding budgets and approving budgets and rejecting budgets, but you're also advocating for budgets, right?
Yes.
So you are such the perfect person to tell us how to do it and how not to do it. So you also made a very big career move recently. Can you tell the wonderful people of LinkedIn what you're up to now?
Absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. I actually left Avis and Young at the end of April, and I had told leadership last fall that I wanted to follow a great passion of mine, which is advocating for women in commercial real estate because I feel like they're underrepresented and underserved. And I want to change that. All I want to be is the person who lights the match and then bring in collectively. The name of the my firm is the Moneypenny Collective. And the reason it's collective is just like you, I'm a collection of the last, not for you, 35 years, but 35 years of colleagues, friends, projects, companies, positions. And I want to bring all that forward to be able to serve women in our industry for career development, for visibility, for confidence, to be able to make an ask. So, very excited about the opportunity. And of course, along with this passion, it also gives me time to do some other passions, which are fly fishing, photographing moose, painting, and traveling with the love of my life. So, life is good.
Life is grand. And Marcy and I, as most of you hopefully know by now, I also left my job in commercial real estate for a very similar mission, right? Supporting the folks, the people, the rising leaders I saw in the industry that I also felt were not supported and should be and need to be not only supported, but promoted and encouraged. And so Marcy and I are really in sync in that. And so this conversation is a perfect starting point for us. And we're working on several fun projects together, but
We are.
we'll leave that for a little bit later. But I just want to get into this conversation because it is so good. And so
Right.
the first question I have really is around this ask. Now, to frame the conversation based on those conversations I had in Vegas, and honestly, all the time with lots of women and people in the industry, is these fears of asking for some sort of budget. Now, in particular when you're asking for budget for something for you, for yourself, for your own career professional development, or you want to go to a conference, or you want membership in XYZ organization, ULI, whatever it might be. That's when it can feel the most uncomfortable because you feel like you're asking for a favor. You feel like you're asking for something for yourself that's not really benefiting anyone other than you. And so the common things I hear is the fear of the no, the not wanting to seem needy, not wanting to
Mhm.
seem like you're high maintenance, right? You wanna seem easy peasy, "I'm a great employee, I don't ask for
Eh,
much, I just do what I'm told, and I do the things well." And so, those were some of the most common things I heard hesitation-wise around making the ask.
sure.
Can you address that head on and say, what's wrong in those thinking?
First of all, what I've found, I'll get to the needy and all of that in a moment. What I've found is I'm unstoppable when I'm prepared.
Mm,
I've had to learn that over the years, whether it was making a presentation, a pitch. I think I'm charming and I can go in and maybe hit 80% if I just go in and try and charm. When I'm prepared and have my data points and I know my material cold, I'm at 98%. So
mm.
preparation is key, absolutely key. And that includes, which we'll get to, details, all sorts of information that makes that really important. Now, for women to feel like asking for something could be high maintenance or needy, what I will tell you, leadership doesn't see it that way at all. Leadership finds a woman who steps up to stand out as someone who is confident, has a plan, and they know where they want to go, and that you're graciously inviting them on the ride.
Yeah,
So
that's a really great way of putting it.
it's really important for you to tell as many people, get as much buy-in on your career as you can get within your firm. So we need to put those aside. And one of the things Melina and I were just talking about, you have to remember when you're asking something, you're making a request. And people who understand this know that when you say no, sometimes you're saying no to the request, not to the person. And that makes it much easier to separate yourself from, oh, it means they don't like me. I'm needy. I'm high maintenance. No, it's just a request.
I love that. Yeah, depersonalizing it in a way. This is about
Yeah.
this thing, this request,
Yes.
this objective. It's not
Yes.
about me. It's not a rejection or an approval of me, but it's about that's outside of me. I think
Yes.
that's a really great point.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about how leadership views a request, I love that angle because I think about it as well if I put my senior leader hat on and someone who reports to me or who is on my team comes to me and makes a request like this, the first thing I think isn't, ugh, they're so needy. The first thing I think is, wow, they're really ambitious. They really want to grow. So
Yes.
there's something in the ask that, regardless of what the outcome is, making the ask communicates some really strong positive things about you
Right.
as a rising leader,
Mhm.
as an ambitious person who's hungry for growth. And so I think that's something that often gets forgotten in the fears of
Yes.
making the ask.
Exactly. Exactly. And for me, whenever somebody is asked to want to talk about budget and what they want to do, they're thinking ahead. Have already a plan in place and they're graciously involving me. So I've never seen it as someone being ballsy or being needy or whatever. Quite frankly, I'm grateful that they pointed it out. So when I'm working on my budget, I make sure they're included.
I love that. And so before we get into the tactical, how do you make the ask? When do you make the ask? How do you structure the ask? All that. What are your tips for mindset wise? You said being prepared when you make an ask. Now, part of that is having, like you said, the data and the numbers and and your arguments, your points. But what about mentally, psychologically? Do you do anything to prepare yourself in that way in terms of reframing or any tips you have in that regard that can help someone get over those initial fears?
For me, it's always been telling a story. I have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if I'm confident in that data and the details I want to include, then that gives me a confidence. And I have to remind myself, first of all, I deserve it, because being in commercial real estate is hard. You need as many advocates and people supporting you as possible. And I have to remind myself, I'm worth it. I know that sounds like some hair commercial or something, but I am worth it because I give my all to my profession. I don't hold back. I care for my people. I care for my clients. I am all in. And I'm giving you the luxury, as I said earlier, of joining me.
I love that, and I also wanna emphasize that when you are going and making these asks, it's really not just as Marcy said, it's not just for you. When you, as an employee, as a team member, as a team leader, go and take a course in public speaking or in leadership, you are benefiting your entire company. You need data points to back that up. You call me
Yes.
because I have them all. There is a lot of data and a lot of research that shows the very high impact that management leadership training has on retention, on performance, on productivity of entire teams. Managers and your relationship with your managers account for more than 70% of the reason why people stay or go from an organization. And
Right.
without getting into all the costs of recruitment and retention and turnover, that right there is worth way more than the cost of any course you can take.
I agree 100% because I've been on that hiring side. Retention is important, just on the human level, but
Mhm.
also because someone leaves the firm. That position is typically open for 3 to 6 months, which means that puts a hardship on everybody else in the office who has picked up the additional responsibilities. And then while you may be looking at your budget and thinking, I'm saving that monthly cost and those benefits and those add on factors for that employee, you eventually will pay more.
Way more.
It is retention. And then it also is important is that people are going to be watching you for morale in the office. How are we handling this? It goes so much further than just one person. I agree 100%.
It's such a good point. And so let's get into the ask
Yes.
because you have such great tips around this. Okay, so you have an ask you want to make, whether it's a course or conference attendance, whatever it is. You have the ask. What are your tips and strategies on making the ask in terms of how you ask it, how you frame it, how you prepare? Just give us all your wisdom.
Okay. First of all, timing is important.
Okay.
Very important. And I'm going to go into some of the nuts and bolts of it. The last thing you ever want to do is go in and make an ask in the last 2 quarters of the year. And the reason is that's budget time. And we'll get into that in a moment because you need to know there are three things you need to know. First of all, you need to know when the corporate budget process begins, how long it takes, and when is it approved. Typically, it's approved by leadership or executive committee during the fourth quarter of the year. But you need that information regardless if you're making an ask or not. That's corporate information that you should have as a professional within your firm. Does the corporate budget include training and development? Is there a line item in there? You need to know because when you're going to come back and make that ask, you want to make sure you have all the data, all the background, all the information so you don't look like you're misinformed. And you need to know what that training and development is for. Is it for only revenue generating professionals? Or is it for employees within the firm, which that kind of training and development is really going to be around processes and platform. So you have to be aware of that. And then you need to understand that the budget rolls up, your local market budget rolls up into the corporate budget. So that's where you're going to have to talk with your managing director, whoever runs your office. You'll need to come to that person and find out all the same questions, which you should know anyway. It's much like an agency leasing broker will be involved in budgets probably in July, August, where they have to provide information. There are all sorts of lines of business that are involved in that, but you need to know your local budget. And if your managing director has a training and development line item, those are three things you need to know right away.
Those are great tips because what you want to do is most of the time, hopefully most of the time, your manager, your boss is on your side, wants to
Yes,
keep you, wants to cultivate you. But what we have to do is make it a really easy yes for that boss or that manager. Right. And so I
right,
think really thinking ahead in terms of timing, in terms of those kinds of things, facilitate that decision maker being able to advocate for that ask.
right.
Now, the other thing when we think about framing it, apart from the ask, I think it's really helpful to frame your ask in terms of how it solves a problem or how it benefits
Sure.
your team or business. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that often gets forgotten along the way.
No, I would agree. I would agree. Though the world, my favorite people are me, myself, and I get it. We all are watching and looking out for ourselves. But first of all, in an office, I'm just looking at a market's office. You're all team players, whether you're on the same team, whether support is supporting brokers or other people in the office, you're all on the same team. However, how line items will be lined up within the budget will be very different. And so, one of the things that I think is really important for someone in a team, and especially if you're a team leader, is ahead of budget time, you reach out to everyone and ask, all right, what's in your IC agreement? I need to know what have we negotiated that we need to make sure we're bringing forward. And I have always asked everyone, what kind of development and training do you want? I want to make sure include that because when I go to present my budget and that line item is in there and they're not prepared for it, I better be able to articulate why and the exact reasons. And I need those from my brokers or from the
Yeah.
people within our office.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And if you're a team member, do not wait to be asked about it. This is why we're talking about this. You need to be prepared to be able to make the ask. You cannot sit on the sidelines and hope someone notices you.
Mm.
I think most people would be surprised to learn that commercial real estate is not a meritocracy. We've been told time and time again, work really hard, put in extra hours, and you'll be noticed. I think that's the exception to the rule. Raising your hand, speaking up is incredibly important. And who knows, you get comfortable with making this ask, it could take off your career and give you all sorts of opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. And even making the ask, even if you get a no, right? It plants a seed in your team and your manager and your boss and leadership that this person wants more. And so you
Yes.
may not even be aware of opportunities that may come up, and they're immediately going to think of you.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to give another example, and this is a real concrete example. I had this conversation about a week and a half ago. It was really interesting. It was with a woman in the industry, and she was saying, yeah, I really want to take this management leadership development kind of course because I'm a new
Mhm.
manager. I'm leading this new team, but there's just a lot going on at the company. We just did a merger between two organizations, and so I think there's just too much going on. And I said, no, that's the perfect opportunity to pitch this, to make this ask, because
Mhm.
what you're saying is, hey, we just made a big shift in the organization. We're combining two teams. This is a brand new team that we're running. Statistically, when you merge two organizations, you tend to lose a lot of people because
Sure.
culture gets disrupted. People feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And I
Yeah.
am new to the organization and to this team, and I would really love to make sure that I am running this optimally. And
Right.
so I think this could be a really great investment, not just for me, but for the whole team and for them to see as well that we're really committed to creating a really great cohesive culture. That is a complete reposition from there's a lot going on, their priorities are, and I'm going to ask them for another budget item to you need this.
Right. And you can't answer a question for somebody that you haven't asked them.
I love that. I need,
It's just the conversation with yourself is irrelevant. I don't know anybody in this business who doesn't want the opportunity to be able to weigh in. Don't take away their opportunity to do that. Totally agree with that. One of the things that I think is really important is not only the timing and knowing where the budget is, but the amount. And I want to give a hint about how you do that is whenever I've asked for something personally for me or for my team, I enhance the amount because I know I may need to negotiate. If you go in, quite frankly, asking for exactly you want what you want, there's a great chance that you may get less than because there may be a negotiation. I'm not saying, let's see, the training you want is 2,000, so you ask for 10. But what you need to be prepared, you need to be prepared that there may be some negotiation involved. Be mindful of the amount that you're asking for, let's say, because there could be unforeseen costs. You may end up having to travel somewhere for it, or there just may be additional costs.
Mhm.
So that's really important to make sure that you have that at the very beginning as you're articulating why. And here's one of the other things about data that's really important. I always had a file folder. It was called me. And the things I did throughout the year, I put an email or whatever I got from someone and I put it in that file. Because if I had an ask at the end of the year, I wanted to be able to articulate the value I brought not only to my position and my line of business, but to the local office and the firm. So you
Mm,
have to be able to say, for a property manager during the pandemic, my God, property management kept commercial real estate floating. That contracted service revenue that came in every month. And then they were having to learn how to deal with a pandemic with tenants and clients. I would have written, it would have been font like this, the whole piece about myself. You have to be able to get comfortable with promoting yourself. And by that, it's not, I'm so great on this or that, but share with people what you've been able to do and the value
mhm.
you've brought to the firm.
Yeah, that's great. The value you brought to the firm and the value that you can bring to the firm if you complete XYZ opportunity, if you're able to attend this conference.
Yes,
So, for example, when one person goes and takes a training or a course on something, it's not just
I
that
know where you're
person
going.
who learns, right? When you go
Yes,
and you learn something, let's say about AI, let's say you take an AI literacy course, right?
yes,
That then is knowledge that gets transferred across your entire team, right? And
exactly.
so when you go and you make that ask, you say, the team is really going to benefit from this. And this is how I might plan to share the knowledge. So let's say it's a 6-week course. What I want to do is over the course of those 6 weeks, I'm going to sit down with my team every week and share with them what I
Yes,
learned. I'm going to make sure that this knowledge gets transferred because our team needs it. And so all of a sudden, this ask that you're making for $3,000 for you is $3,000 across 15 people, which is
exponential.
nothing.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And when you do that, Melina, it shows how invested you are in your team, that it isn't just a request for you. And it's important when you're articulating your ask that you have that as part of it. And if you're not part of a team, let's say you have your own practice or you're a property manager or you're a project manager or you're in finance, you have to be able to, you do not stand alone, even though you may be the single person in that practice or in finance and whatever. But because you're connected within the firm, you're going to share. You're
yeah.
absolutely going to. And you're planning on sharing that with your clients too.
With your clients, that's a good one. And on that note, I have another idea on that. So,
Okay.
A, positioning it how it can help your team. B, I love that, how it can help your clients because that's a client-facing, client-first organization, which hopefully is every organization in this space is gonna think of that. The third thing that I think can be really compelling in these asks,
Okay.
are you ready? I'm so
I
excited.
am.
It as a competitive advantage.
Mhm.
Event that let's say so Allison Weiss, who you know well, and I are
Love
launching
it.
this speaking course. Now we know for a fact that there are several firms in the industry that have been investing in public speaking and presentation training. So, if you are not at one of those firms, it's a very smart move to go to your
Yeah.
boss and say, you know what? I know for a fact that some of the people that we're pitching against going through pretty intensive training around this, and we're going to get left behind if we
Yep.
don't also think about that. And so framing it as, hey, competitors are doing this, we need to get ahead. Or competitors aren't doing this, and if we do it, we're going to get ahead.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And see, in my brain, I'm going, what a great ad to be able to share when you're recruiting. This is what we do in our firm, and this is what they've done for me. One of the things that you may have to be careful about with the ask is if someone says, we'll do it for you, but if we can't do for all, we won't do for one. So we need to be careful about confidentiality. So there are all sorts of things to play into that. And you'll know how to do it. And if you don't, call either one of us and we'll help you through it. But yeah, absolutely. There's no way for leadership to be faulted for investing in their people.
Mm,
And it could absolutely start a whole movement within the firm that this is what we need.
yeah.
And this, if nothing else, bring this person into our firm and let this person do the training.
Mhm.
Hello.
Mhm.
And be
Yeah,
able to do that, or P20. Who
right.
knows? All sorts of things can happen.
That's a really great point because I wanna address that because that's a really common thing that someone might hear when they make an ask is, "I'd love to give it to you, but if I give it to you, I have to give it to everyone else, and it's not gonna seem fair if I don't." So, I'm curious how you position that because maybe one of the ways you respond to that is saying, hey, I totally get that. And I think that what I can do is commit to taking this course or doing this thing, sharing the knowledge, and also giving you feedback that if I think this is something that can really benefit everyone on
Yeah,
the team, I'm going to bring it
excellent.
back to you. And we're going to go back and we're going to negotiate with that vendor to come and do a training for the whole team. And it
Mhm.
cost a lot less than the per seat that you paid for one.
Absolutely. It's just, do you see how that increases your value and how leadership is seeing you as someone who sees a personal need or a need for the team, but is dedicated on making sure that the firm is aware of it so it could be company wide?
I love
That just does so much for your reputation and how you're seen.
Yeah. You're basically
Who
saying, "I'll
knew?
I'll be the guinea pig for you. I'll do the work,
Yeah,
and I'll be the guinea
yeah,
pig, and then I'll help you negotiate because I know what the value is," right?
yeah,
Or I'm saving the firm money because if I do the
yeah,
training and I don't think it's worth it for the rest of the group, I'll take the good stuff, share it with the group, and then you save money putting everyone through it.
absolutely.
So I wanna shift and talk about what not to do, because I think there are a lot of instincts many of us have when we make an ask that you, in talking before with me about this, are like, "Don't do that." So what are some of the things not to do in an ask?
Okay, you don't whine, you don't cry, you don't get emotional. One of the things you don't do is just make it all about yourself,
Okay.
because that takes away from your commitment and dedication to your practice, your team, your market, your firm. That this is all about making you and your team better for the firm. Now, there's a good chance one of the things that you and I talked about with an ask that there's a possibility that there could be a no.
Mhm.
Don't know if you're ready to go there or not or yet.
Let's go there. I'm always ready.
Okay. All right. For me, two things about a no. No is a not yet. No, not yet. Okay, great. Then I'll come back time and time again, regardless of what it is. Also, think of a no is a yes in the works.
Ooh. Ooh, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Uh, over the years, I've been called tenacious and a bit pushy because I will come back to something over and over again. And my comment has always been it's my understanding that you have to be tenacious in our industry. And I am. Who can fault you for that kind of an answer? Excuse me. Let's say you hear, no, not yet. There are a couple of different things that you can do. First of all, you don't ever want to offer these up front because you don't know the answer. You don't, again, want to answer for someone. Is you could always come back and say, why don't we split this cost 2/3 to the firm and 1/3 to me? That way, you can see I have skin in the game. And I now know the firm has skin in the game for me too. And then if they go to 50-50, okay, remember we enhance the amount a bit. Okay, we can live with that. Another way that you can do this, and this is for commission based professionals, is it can be an off the top expense. So let's say you just tell your MD that so that it doesn't have to be a line item in the budget, just take it off that cost off my next commission, which means I'll pay 50% of it and the house will pay the other 50%. And there you go. It's just a very easy. And then the other thing that you could do is tell them that you're asking for them to invest in you and your future. And if they would feel better, you can put together a document that states if I leave the firm within a certain time frame, that I'll pay the money back. And it makes it a win-win for everyone. If you have those kind of options and you've thought about them and you're mindful about them because you want a partner, that's really important. This is a partnership.
It is. It's a partnership, and it's the basics of what they say about any negotiation is you want to enter into it as we're collaborating and trying to solve this problem together. And
Mhm.
so entering
Yeah.
into it with the mentality that this is my boss, this is my leader, and they want to support me. And so
Yes.
how can we work together to make that happen? And another
Right.
thing that you talk about is when there's a no or no, not yet, or a yes in the works, as you call it, which I love, it's really wanting to understand why. So how do you get to the why without it being a whiny, "Why not?"
If they say no, because I made the request, in my mind, I deserve an answer. I need to understand why. And my question is not questioning their judgment or their expertise. And I've often explained it that way. I said, the reason I'm asking you this is it's not that I'm questioning your ability to do a budget or whatever. It's because I want to understand. I ask questions when I'm interested in something and I want to understand. I need for you to help explain to me why. And if they come back and say it's cost cutting, and because right now, market unstable, they may come back with that. Is I understand that. And because the market is so unstable, this is when I really feel like I need that training. I believe I need that training.
Yeah.
And if the conversation kind of wavers a bit, and again, this is why you're having the conversation now, because July and August are coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah.
You can say, all right, why don't we do this? I know that when the budget guidelines come out, you'll be given some directives on cost cutting, how much to take out of your budget, because what they'll use is this year's budget as kind of a template for 2026 and what reductions will be. I would like to put some time on your calendar at the end of June for us to come back and have that discussion. And it's a bit like a dripping faucet. I believe in my desire and my worth to have someone invest in my career development. And that's my firm. And
Yeah.
I'm going to come back because, again, a no is a yes in the making.
I love that. I have two kind of specific questions that I think come up a lot. And one is, what if you're new to a firm, right? I think it's a little bit easier to have this conversation if you have a good relationship with your manager, you've proven yourself, you have a track record, et cetera. What if you're relatively new to the firm? You may not have quote unquote proven yourself. What are some tips you have for making that ask? Should you wait? Should you not be making an ask if you're new to the firm?
You might as well start out being that tenacious person and ask what kind of career training and development does the firm have in place because I'm interested in a couple different opportunities, and I'd love to maybe that not 2025 budget because I understand, but for 2026, I want to raise my hand now. You
Mhm.
might as well let them know early on that you're all in. You want to learn more about the industry, about training, or whatever that may take. Or you ask your managing director what's already in place within the firm. I want to understand, is there something there? And it might be the kind of training that really won't fit in to your practice or your future, but you will have done the homework.
Mm.
So again, preparation is just absolutely key. And I have to throw this in because it's something that came to mind months ago that I want people to hear and to, I'm going to say it twice. Playing it safe will only take you as far as ordinary. I'm going to say that again. Playing it safe will only take you as far as ordinary. You are not ordinary. I don't know anyone who wants to be ordinary. I think the definition of ordinary is commonplace without extra. I
Extra.
would, yeah, I would say beige and oatmeal. That is just not something anyone wants to be. So this is not a time to play it safe. Regardless if you've been in the industry for a million years or you're a newbie and you're just starting out.
That is such a that's everybody write that down, print it out, blow it up, put it on your wall, read it every morning, whatever you need to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't be ordinary. And I think that a lot and I've felt this, and I am sure that you felt this, that growing, whether it's personally or professionally, always requires a degree of getting uncomfortable, a degree of pushing past what you think is your limit. And so
yeah,
it's okay if this ask feels a little uncomfortable, do it. Right? And I think
yeah,
that's one of the challenges we wanna leave you with is make an ask, practice, see it as a
right.
playground. You get to practice asking and reframe it as Marcy has talked about. It's not being pushy, it's being ambitious.
Mhm.
And who does seen as ambitious,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. It asking will reveal so much more about yourself than you can even imagine.
Of the answer.
Exactly. And remember, no, not now or not yet. Oh my gosh, the door is still open. It gives you the opportunity to practice that tenacity,
Mhm.
that desire to be the absolute best you can be because you don't want to be ordinary.
I love it. This is so juicy, so good. So many great pieces of advice in this one little 35-minute conversation. Is there
Yeah,
anything else before we close that you would want to impart on the audience?
exactly. I think it's important to step up, to stand out. You have to take that step. And then you will watch your career change in a way you just never expected it to because each time you ask or you push yourself in uncomfortable is where all of us learn. Our successes and our wins, those are great, but it's the uncomfortable moments that we need to just push through. So there are fewer and
Yeah.
fewer of those uncomfortable
Yeah.
moments. And
The discomfort, there's magic in the discomfort, and
there
I think
is.
one of the that's one of the main reasons, it's probably the main reason that my newsletter on LinkedIn is called Uncomfortable Questions for Leaders because it's about
I
the
remember.
growth and the
Yeah.
uncomfortable, right? So with that, thank you so much, Marcy, and what I want to also let everyone know and ask that we're making of all of you an offer to add value is that Marcy and I are collaborating on some pretty exciting things. And one of them
Yep.
is a leadership development program for anyone in commercial real estate who is ambitious, not pushy, you're
Yeah.
ambitious, who are interested in investing or having your firm invest in your growth as a leader, everything from AI literacy to public speaking to
Yes.
managing hybrid workplaces and teams. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to either one of us. You can
Yep,
also check it out at p20leadership.com. And with that,
absolutely.
thank you so much, Marcy, for being
It's
on
been
and for
great.
imparting this wisdom. And you will be on again soon, I am sure.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.